Got it. So, hello everyone. Myself Pooja Soni, and I'm assistant professor in IMT College of Pharmacy, Greater Noida. So, today I'm here in front of you to represent a topic, and which is derived from your subject HAP, Human Anatomy and Physiology. So, my topic is cardiovascular system. Okay. So, if we just break this term like cardiovascular plus system, first of all we will discuss about what is the system. Okay, so the system is made up of different parts. Okay, the different part of things, or we can say like the system contain different parts, like the body is a system. Okay, so body consists what? Respiratory system, your urinary system, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the one of the things which I discussed with you, this that is cardiovascular system. So the system is the thing, or a completely part, completely one thing which composed of different type of things. Okay, different type of parts. So in the cardiovascular system, so this is the system. Means this is the definition of your system. Now, if we divide the term cardiovascular, okay, so the term will be divided in two segments. First is your cardio, and the second was one is your vascular. So what is mean of cardio? Cardio is just your heart, about the anatomy and the physiology of your heart, that belongs to the cardio. And the second term is your vascular. So vascular is your vessels. Which type of vessels? Mainly in this system, cardiovascular system, we will discuss about the blood vessels. Okay, so this is the main meaning of the main meaning of the term, the cardiovascular and the system. Okay, so hmm. So as I told you that the cardio means heart. Okay. So now first we will discuss about your heart, the anatomy of heart. Sorry, the anatomy of your heart, the physiology of your heart. Then we will go about the vessels, blood vessels, about the how the blood vessels made up of different type of layers and the blood pressure. Okay. So what is heart? First of all, if we compare heart with the pump, like in our home there is a pump like tube well pump. What is the function of pump? Just tube well pump uh, carry water from one part to the from one place to the another place. Okay, so here the heart is work as a pump. It carry blood from one part of your body to the another part of your body. Okay, so here we can say, like, see, like cardiovascular system, organ system that distribute blood to all part of the body. It means the heart work as a pump which carry blood, or along with blood there are different type of things like nutrients, oxygen and hormones, and other carry other type of waste material from to the all part of the body. Okay, so the we can say like a major function of your heart is the transportation of your nutrients, your oxygen and other hormone, or other different type of your hormone. So here heart work as a pump. Okay, so major function is transportation, using blood as a transporting vehicle. Here I just want to use an example, like in a city, or if we go in new city, there is a different type of transporting medium, right? Like cab, buses, trains, etc. So uh, by the use of these buses, cabs, we can easily transport, right? We can easily get transport from one place to the another place. Here in the cardiovascular system, blood is that similar thing, like a vehicle. It transport oxygen, your nutrients from one place to the another, similar like the bus and cabs, by which we can travel from one place to the another place. So we can say like a blood work as a vehicle in the transporting medium. We can say like a blood as a vehicle in that as a transporting medium. Okay, so this major function is transportation. So what type of transportation? Like oxygen, nutrients, cell waste, hormones and other substance to the vital organs of your body. Next, the force to move blood around the body is provided by the pumping heart and blood pressure. So how the blood can get in each part of your body? By the force or by a use of different type of energy, and the force is provided by the heart, because I already told you, like, heart work here, heart work as a pump, right? So now, if we talk about the anatomy of your heart, so heart is the size of, first of thing, the size of your heart is about your closed face. If you close like this way, so the heart, the size will be like this. Okay, now the weight of your heart is about 1 pound, or in the term of grams, it's about 250 to 300 grams of your, okay, 300 grams. Next, the heart is the cone-shaped muscular organ located between. Okay, so the location of your heart is between your behind your sternum, the cavity of thorax, the sternum, in the thorax cavity, and behind your sternum. It's just slightly towards the left. Okay, so and the shape of your heart will be cone-shaped. And since it's a muscular organ, so there are different type of muscles will be there. So as we know, each and every part of, or we can say each and every organ of your body made up of different type of layers, right? So heart is also made up of different type of layers. So mainly heart made up of three types of layers. The first is your outer epicardium, second one is myocardium, and third one is your endocardium. Okay, so these are the three basic layer by which heart membrane is made up. Second one is your the chambers. So heart is, if we divided heart by the septum, like you can say like here. Okay, so there is a septum which divide, first of all, which divide heart into two parts. First is your right part, and the second one will be your left. And if we divide is a transverse section, so it will be right atria, upper side will be the atria, and the lower side will be your ventricle, if we divide by the TS, transverse section. So ultimately there will be a four chambers. So the right atrium, right ventricle, and the left atrium and the left ventricle. So by the help of septum, we can say, by the help of septum, heart is divided into the four chambers: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. So see, the septum is the wall. Now, what is the septum? Septum is just kind of wall which divide your heart into the two parts, right and left. Now, there are two types of walls are there, which we commonly known as atrioventricular wall. Why we call it as atrioventricular wall? Because these walls are present between your atria and the ventricular. Okay, when I did the transverse section of your heart, so there are two parts, right? Superior and the inferior one. So superior is known as your atria, and the inferior one is known as the ventricle. So atria and ventricle. So there are two atria in the right and left. So one is your right atria and right ventricle, second one is your left atria and left ventricle. So the walls, which means just a kind of gap, we can say. So between the right atria and right ventricular wall, there is a wall known as your tricuspid wall, and the second wall will be present in the left atria and your left ventricle, which is known as your bicuspid wall, also known as the mitral wall. Okay, so what is the main function of, we can say, what is the need of these walls? So these are, I already told you, that they work as a cap, means they just inhibit the backflow of later we will discuss about the how the blood flow in your heart. So when the blood comes into your right ventricle, it can when the pressure is increased, it can easily go towards the atria, to the right atria also. So here is a wall which inhibit the backflow from the right ventricle to the right atria. So the main function of your wall is to inhibit, we can say, or prohibit the backflow of your blood. Okay, so atrioventricular wall occur between the atria and ventricular. That's why we call it as atrioventricular wall, and that is known as the, which are present in the right atrium, is known as the tricuspid wall. And on the right and a bicuspid valve on the left. Okay, so it supply oxygen nutrient rich blood to all body organs. So ultimately the blood will supply oxygen and nutrients to all vital part of the body. Now here is the sequence which I discussed about in the last. So the passage of blood through the heart. So I mean how the blood will pass from the heart ultimately to the cell. Okay, so first of all, blood flow, this sequence follows this sequence through the heart. Blood which type of sequence it follows. So first of all, it will comes into your right atrium, right atrium via superior or inferior vena cava. First of all, what happened in our system, in the body, from the upper limbs, or we can say, yes, from the upper part of your body, blood collects and it will drain into your superior vena cava. Where is the superior vena cava? Like somewhere here. Yes, this is your superior vena cava. Okay, so from the all upper limbs or all upper part of the body, superior vena cava will collect the blood, and from the lower limbs and lower part of the body, inferior vena cava will collect the blood, and that blood will be your deoxygenated, or we can say like impure blood. Okay, so now this deoxygenated blood from superior vena cava and from inferior vena cava, it drained into your right atrium. Okay, now from the right atrium, when the pressure will goes increased, and the pressure will increase, and the contraction, which we will discuss about later, the impulse generated by the SC node and AV node. So then contraction will be there and pressure will be increased. Then the walls, which I discussed in later slide, last slide, sorry. So these walls, also known as, I said, like a cap, that will be open. Now, what happened when the walls will be open? The blood will comes into your right ventricle, from the right atrium to the right ventricle. Blood drain from the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava via upper part of your body and lower part of your body, drain into your right atrium, and from there, when walls will get open, the blood flow into your right ventricle. Okay, so the similar thing is mentioned here. Superior inferior vena cava to the right atrium, and from the tricuspid wall, as I already told you, the atrioventricular wall present in your right atria, between present your in right atria and ventricle, is known as tricuspid wall. So from there, tricuspid wall, blood flow into your right ventricle. Okay, now from there, from right ventricle, it flow, or we can say it forward towards the via semi-lunar walls. There are, I already told you, there are 4 type of walls. One will be your atrioventricular wall, and the third one is your pulmonary semilunar wall, and the fourth one is your aortic wall, which is present with here in the left ventricle, in the aorta, like you can say, like here. Okay, so here is your aortic wall, and here is your pulmonary wall. Okay, so from the right ventricle, blood flow into via pulmonary wall, it goes into your pulmonary trunk. Okay, or here it will be a pulmonary arteries, and from the pulmonary arteries, it goes into your lungs. And what will happen when the blood, deoxygenated blood, reach to the lungs? Then the interchange will be, exchange will be there. What type of exchange? Deoxygenated blood will be become oxygenated, right? So via pulmonary trunk, or we can say via pulmonary arteries, blood will flow into your lungs. Now, deoxygenated blood will convert into your oxygenated one, and then from the pulmonary veins, it leaves the lungs. Blood goes into the lungs via pulmonary arteries. Just you have to notice one thing. Mainly in your body, artery will carry the oxygenated blood, but it's the exceptional case in your pulmonary system that the artery carry deoxygenated blood and the veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. Okay, so pulmonary veins leaving the lungs and carry oxygenated blood to the left atrium. Okay, So you can see like pulmonary veins are here, and they carry oxygenated blood to the left atrium. Now from there, when the pressure will increase, contraction will be there, then the bicuspid wall, also known as your mitral wall, then this wall will be open and blood flows into your left ventricle. Okay, so now from the left ventricle, now here is your oxygenated blood. As you can see the red color, so red color will be denoted as your oxygenated blood, and the blue one will be denoted as the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so from the left ventricle, blood flow towards the aorta, and from the aorta it will distribute in all part of your body. Okay, so aorta, we can say like aorta is the main artery of your blood vessels, and the larger one which which distribute blood to all parts of the body. So this is the sequence which blood follows. Okay, so ultimately from the aorta it transport to all part of the body. Now in the heart, oxygen poor blood circulate from the tissue back to right atrium via the systemic vein, which empty their blood into either the superior or inferior vena cava. As I told about this thing now, that oxygenated poor blood, which means deoxygenated blood, will drainage by the superior or inferior vena cava in your right atrium. But so this is the one circulatory circulation. Okay, now the second circulation is your this second circuit from left side of your heart through the body tissue and back to the right side of the heart is called as systemic circulation. What the thing is saying here, like from the left side of your heart, right? So when the blood drain into the right atrium, it travels into the right ventricle. From their lungs, it reaches to the lungs, and from the lungs, the oxygenated blood comes into your left atria. Now from the left atria and from the left ventricle via aorta, it will goes into the ultimate parts of your body, and ultimately in your cells, or we can say like in your tissues. Okay, so from the tissue gas exchange will be take place, gases exchange, or we can say waste product, oxygenated blood will transfuse their nutrients and oxygen to the tissue or to the cells to perform their metabolic activity. Okay, and they will carry the waste products via cell, which is produced by the cell during their metabolic activity. So this waste material blood carry and drain into the right atrium. So there is circuit formation. There will be a circuit. That circuit is known as systemic circulation. Okay, so it supply oxygen, nutrient rich blood to all body organs. This is the same thing. So this system is known as the systemic circulation. This circuit, which is we will discuss like from the aorta to the tissue, and from the tissue to ultimately to your right atrium. This circuit is known as your systemic circulation. Okay, there is another type of circulation which is known as the pulmonary circulation. So pulmonary circulation, as I already discussed, when the from the right ventricle via your pulmonary artery, it carry blood to the lungs, and from the lungs it comes into your left atrium via pulmonary veins. So this circle, or we can say this circuit, when blood from the right ventricle through the pulmonary artery, it goes into the lungs. This circuit is known as your pulmonary circulation. Okay, so there are mainly 4 types of circulation, but here we will discuss just about the systemic circulation, and the second one is your pulmonary circulation. Okay, so now we will discuss about the heart physiology, how the heart will contract. Okay, so first of all, you can see the structure like here. Yes. So here is your SA node, here is your AV node. What is the main function of SA node? SA node is a sinoatrial node. Okay, also known as your pacemaker. Why we call it as pacemaker? Because it generates the impulse. And what's the need of your impulse? The impulse is the main thing which used to contract the atria and ventricle. When heart will be contract, then the blood will distribute Okay, so we need some type of energy or some type of contraction, that the contraction will be accomplished by your SA node. Okay, so the sinoatrial node is a crescent shaped node in the right atrium. It's located into your right atrium. Now, from the SA node, impulse will be generated and they spread to all over your atria. This is your atria. This is your ventricle. This is your right side, and this is your left side. Okay. So from the SA node, impulse will distribute to all over the part of atria, and when the contraction of atria will complete, the impulse also distribute to the AV node, also travel towards the AV node. Here is your atrioventricular wall. Okay, so there is a feature in SA node which they just normally generate impulse, okay, itself. So now the impulse will carry towards the AV node, atrioventricular node. Another node is present in the junction of atria and ventricle. Here is the AV node, and from the AV node, your impulse will be travel via bundle of His, the division, which we can say like there is some branches type of structure, which we known as your bundle of His. Okay, so from the impulse SA node, it travels to the AV node, and via bundle of His is travel in the Purkinje fiber. Via Purkinje fiber, it travels towards, or we can say it covers to all part of your ventricle. Now ventricle will contract. Okay, when the impulse cover the atrial part, then atria will be contract, and when the impulse cover the ventricle part, then ventricle will be contract. So here is your Purkinje fibers, this type of. Okay, so the SA node, about that one, the SA node has the highest rate of depolarization in the whole system. What is the depolarization? Just the action potential, we can say, when the impulse, right? Impulse will be generated, and they generate some type of action, right? So depolarization. So SA node has the highest rate of depolarization. It start each heartbeat and set the pace for the whole heart, and is therefore called as pacemaker. Why we call as pacemaker? Because they just set the pace which are required to contract, for the contraction of your heart. Now the impulse travel from the SA node through the atria to AV node, and causing atria to contract. Impulse will travel via SA node to the AV node, and atria via this impulse generation, atria will be contract. At the AV node, the impulse is delayed to give the atria time to finish contracting. Now from the AV node, impulse surely will be traveled, but it will be slightly delayed, slightly slow. So when the atria contraction will be finished, then the ventricle will be contracted. Now it then passes rapidly through the AV bundles, Purkinje fibers, causing contraction of ventricle. Okay, so now from the AV node, it will passes by a bundle of His, and ultimately via Purkinje fibers. Here is your, you can see like Purkinje fiber, and then ventricle will be contracted. So this is your physiology of your heart. Now, this contraction effectively ejects blood superiorly into large artery, leaving the heart. Now, we can say like a heart rate, the normal heart rate. If the heart rate, the contraction of your heart, if increase, that the term is known as this is the additional thing, tachycardia. When the heart rate is your increase about greater than 100 beats per minute, and the bradycardia, when your heart rate will be decreased about 60 beats per minute. So these are the two terminologies are there. Now, the blood vessels. Okay, so as I already told you about in the introductory part, that we will discuss here in this lecture about the heart anatomy and physiology of your heart, and the blood vessel, about the blood vessel. So this is, you can see here, this is the structure of your blood vessels. So the red color one is your artery, and the blue one is your vein. Why blue? Because it carries the deoxygenated. As I already told you that in the normal situation, veins carry deoxygenated blood, while artery carry oxygenated, but it's exceptional thing in pulmonary circulation. Okay, so artery, this is the lumen. Okay, so when the artery get divided, okay, artery will be divided into arterioles, and arterioles ultimately will be divided into capillaries. So the main exchange in the tissue exchange, we can say, like when tissue get oxygens, nutrients, so it will be ultimately happen in the capillaries. Okay, so we can say, like capillaries when joined, they form arterioles, and when different type of various type of arterioles join, they will form the arteries. Similarly happen in your vein system, when the different arteries joined and form venues, and different type of venues will be joined and they form veins. Okay, so this is your lumen, and the inner layer is known as inner this is your inner layer, second one is your middle layer, and third one is your outer layer. The name of the layers I'll discuss about later. So at any given moment, about 30% of your blood in your systemic circulation will be found in arteries. It means if your blood is your 100%, okay, so 30% will be present in your arteries, while 5% will be present in your capillaries, and 65% will be present in your veins. So most of the amount of your blood present will be in your veins at a single moment. Okay, so cardiovascular system has three type of vessels. First one is your arteries and veins. About arteries, the arterioles, and the finest structure of your arteries is capillaries, and the third one is your vein. So artery which carry blood away from the heart is known as artery, or mostly carry the oxygenated blood. Okay, capillaries are the finest network where nutrient and gases exchange take place. Okay, and veins and venues that carry blood towards your heart. Now, arteries and arterioles take blood away from the heart, as we already see here. Now, the largest artery is the aorta, which is present in your heart. Okay, so the middle layer of artery will consist of smooth muscles that can constrict or regulate the blood flow, and arterioles can constrict, dilate, changing the blood pressure. So this is the another feature of your artery, that can be constrict or dilate, and via constriction and dilation, what will be happen here? Blood pressure will be changed. Okay, if the contraction will be there, blood pressure will be increased. Dilation, the blood pressure will be decreased. So this is some characteristics of your arteries. Now, capillaries is the finest branch of your arteries. As I already told you, this is, suppose here is your artery, which is red in color, and this is your vein. So you can see, like, this is the branch, and the finest branch is your capillaries. Okay, so capillaries have walls only 1 cell thick to allow exchange of gases and nutrients with tissue fluid. So capillaries are made up of only a single cell, so it's very thin, so that they can allow to exchange of nutrients and gases to the tissue with the tissue fluid. Capillary beds are present in all regions of the body, but not all capillary beds are open at the same. So capillaries beds are mostly present in all part of your body. Okay, so this is the structure of your capillaries and arteries and veins. Now, veins. Veins, when used, drain blood from capillary, then join to form veins that take blood to the heart. So which type of veins carry blood to the heart? The superior and inferior vena cava, right? So veins have much less smooth muscles and connective tissue than arteries. It has less muscles, and veins often have walls prevent the backflow. There is also present the walls in the veins which inhibit the backflow of your blood. Vein carry 70% of body blood, as I already discussed, 65% or 75%. Okay, so that's why we can say it act as a reservoir during your hemorrhage. Okay, now heart sound and murmurs. So cardiac cycle and heart sound. The average heartbeat is about 72 to 75 times per minute. So the average cycle will be your 0.8 seconds. Now this is your heart cycle. The point in a 0.8 second, the heart cycle will be completed. Okay, so ultimately there will be a 72 beats per minute. Okay, now heart sound. What is heart sound? Four type of heart sound can be recorded by the phonocardiography, but normally only the first and second sound, heart sound, are audible through the stethoscope. So uh, how the sounds, first and second sound, how that it ultimately generated. So first sound, when I already told you about the circulation of your blood, how the blood passes from the atria to the ventricle, and from the ventricle, when okay, so from the ventricle it uh, travel towards your pulmonary arteries, the wall will be closed. Which type of wall? Atrioventricular wall. So when the atrioventricular wall will be closed, there is a sound will be generated that is known as the as one sound. Sorry. So occur when the atrioventricular wall close at the beginning of ventricular contraction. When the ventricle get contract, the wall will be closed, and the closing of this wall will be generate one sound that is known as one sound, and the sound is quite louder and longer and more in duration than the second heart sound. So this sound is known as S1 sound. And there is also a closing of this side of atrioventricular wall, but it's slightly there is a very less time duration between this, maybe 0.07 prox. So there is a very minute difference between these sounds. So only S1 sound only you can hear. Now the second heart sound is your occur when the aortic and pulmonary semilunar valve closing. When the pulmonary valves, here is your pulmonary valve between your aorta and your pulmonary veins. So when this type of valve, these valves, semilunar valves will be closed, the another sound will be generated that is known as your S2 sound. Okay, so these are the main two type of your sound. So okay, last one is your heart murmur. Continuously hard continuously your blood will be flow with the turbulent, with the pressure. So it will create some type of noise that is known as your heart murmur. The cardiac murmurs are abnormal heart sound in the form of noises resulting from turbulent blood flow. Okay, murmurs may be two type of systolic murmurs and diastolic murmurs. Systolic murmurs, which means when your heart will be a contracted. So systole means contraction, diastole means simply diastole means your dilation. Causes, what is the causes of the sound murmurs? Stenosis, if your walls, your heart wall will be narrow or constricted, then you can easily hear this heart murmur sound. Incompetence of heart wall, again the closing properly. If heart walls are not closed properly, then you can easily hear this murmur sound. And the third one is your increase the blood flow and decrease the blood viscosity. If the blood flow will be increased, then the heart murmur sound will be there. Now, two basic type of valvular disease. If valvular stenosis, narrowing of your valve is known as valvular stenosis, and valvular insufficiency, valve is unable to close. If valve will be narrow, then it's known as stenosis, valvular stenosis. And if valves are not completely closed, okay, so that is known as your insufficiency, valvular insufficiency. Last one topic is your blood pressure. So what is the blood pressure? We just normally called as your arterial blood pressure. Okay, so arterial blood pressure can be defined as the pressure exerted by the blood on your walls of your arteries. So how much pressure exerted by the blood on your walls of your blood vessels? Okay, that pressure is known as your blood pressure. Okay, that pressure is exerted by the blood on your arteries, wall of your arteries is known as your blood pressure. Here you can see this is your blood vessel and this is blood. So it exerts some amount of pressure on the walls of your arteries. So this is the structure of your arteries. So first inner layer is known as your tunica interna. As I already told you that I will discuss about the layer of your capillary arteries. So tunica interna is the internal layer, tunica media is your second layer, and tunica externa is your outermost layer. Okay, so this is the structure of your arteries, this is the structure of veins, and the layer will be your same in the artery and veins. There will be similar type of layers. Okay. Now, what is the significance of blood pressure? So, to ensure the blood flow to the various organs, to ensure that the properly blood flow are there or not. Okay. Now, play an important role in exchange of nutrient and gases across the capillary. This is the main feature that required to why we want to measure the blood pressure. Okay. So, and required to form urine and required for the formation of lymph. Now, what is the normal range of your blood pressure? So the normal range is 120, 80. Okay, so the systole and the normal adult range can fluctuate within the wide range and still be normal. So the systolic pressure when the heart is contract and exerted pressure to the arteries, that is your systolic, that will be your approx 120 approx. Okay, and the diastolic when heart get relaxed, so that will be your 80 approx. So 100 to 60, or we can say 140 to 80. It's the normal range of your blood pressure. Now, blood pressure is measured using two numbers. The first number called systolic blood pressure, that is a contraction. Measure the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats. The normal range is 120 plus minus 20 mmHg, and the second number is called as diastolic blood pressure. So the range will be a 60 to 90 mmHg. Blood pressure denotes, this is the last point, the pressure will be denote the systolic and diastolic pressure. So pulse pressure, what is the pulse pressure? The difference, what is the difference, what will be your difference between your systolic blood pressure when the heart will be contract and the diastolic pressure when heart get relaxed. The difference between these two pressure is known as your pulse pressure. That will be approx your 40 mm. Yes, the unit of your blood pressure is mm, millimeter per mercury. Okay, so this is the pulse pressure. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.